Hi, everyone. I'm Josepha Haden Chomphosy, the Executive Director of the WordPress Open Source Project, and I'm excited to share an enterprise WordPress showcase with you today. One misconception WordPress has dealt with over the years is that it's too easy for serious sites. It's just a blogging platform, just a site builder. So I've always loved seeing the ways that agencies use WordPress to create custom solutions for their clients. And I've got a few of my favorites that we're going to walk through today. First, I have to tell you where these came from, though. These examples that I'm going to share with you today all came from the Scale Consortium. The Scale Consortium is a group made up of representatives from some of the most prolific and successful enterprise WordPress agencies, and it was created to address the evolving landscape of the enterprise layer of WordPress. Their mission is to amplify the value of WordPress for enterprise level solutions, and they believe in that value so much that they've come together in a non competitive joint venture to advocate for WordPress for enterprise. So let's jump in. In our first case study, this is from Hachette Book Group, one of the big five publishing companies, is comprised of numerous esteemed imprints that cover an array of genres and age groups. It's also known as HBG, and it publishes more than 1,000 books every year. Their authors regularly land on the New York Times bestseller list and earn prestigious accolades for their work. HBG was looking to transform their site into a dynamic platform to offer a twofold experience. First, to serve as a comprehensive brand catalog for bookstores and publishing professionals, and then secondly, to provide an impeccable e commerce platform with a seamless shopping journey. And so those objectives are clear, right? You optimize the site for mobile usage, showcase a diverse range of products, and encourage browsing, discovery, additional purchases, all while offering clear pathways for visitors seeking specific products or imprints, authors, genres, etc. So, using WordPress allowed them to improve that user experience and design of the website for both consumers and the staff maintaining its pages. The WordPress editor empowered the creation of a block based design system that enabled editors to uphold the HBG brand across various publishing sites while also meeting the unique needs of each imprint's product mix and audience engagement strategies. The thing that I like so much about this one is that it really showcases the ease of integration with third-party technologies, things like Elasticsearch and various APIs that we have around the space to dramatically improve searchability and discoverability across their absolutely massive catalog of titles. They now have this dynamic platform that offers a comprehensive brand catalog and an upscale e-commerce experience. WordPress not only helped them to accomplish that, but it also helped them to hit the mark on several other important key performance indicators for them. So, after the site relaunch, their Google Lighthouse scores showed significant improvements across the board. Most notably, performance increased by 50% due to faster load times. Meanwhile, their accessibility score increased by 22%, indicating a more inclusive experience for users with disabilities, and their SEO scores also saw a 21% increase, ultimately increasing their potential for visibility and improved search engine rankings. All of this was enabled by WordPress and just let their new site offer an intuitive and upscale experience that positions them as the leader in their space, as they probably should be seen, and meets the needs of their diverse imprints to reach a wider audience. Next up, we have The Times. So, The Times has over 200 years in the news industry. It's both The Times and the Sunday Times. They've achieved longevity through quality content and continuous innovation, which is an area that WordPress obviously is well suited to showcase. As well as being one of the first publishers to launch a paywall, it's heavily invested in multiple digital channels to reach its growing online audience, which today is 4 times bigger than when it was only in print. So they have 572,000 digital subscribers and a global reach of about 15 million. They use headless WordPress. And thanks to that headless implementation, journalists across both the Times and the Sunday Times can now save a lot of time, save a lot of clicks in their workflow, which is actually also powered by WordPress. Editorial flows, as you probably know, are really heavily click based. It takes a lot of clicks to perform any action. And we were able to, using WordPress as a headless CMS, streamline that workflow in each area that they are building in. And manage to reduce the number of clicks by 62%, which is a dramatic number, which means that it's about 34% faster for them to publish any of their articles now. Choosing to use WordPress as a CMS, as the headless CMS that powers their platform, any new users are able to be onboarded in just 30 minutes, which saves a lot of training time and learning. And the learning curve is shorter, a lot less steep, which means that any new starters can be up and running, I feel, almost instantaneously. A 30-minute onboarding process is really, really fast. Our next example here is Disney and ABC Press. So, for I believe 10 years or more, they have been using WordPress, and they are a dynamic press solution for Disney's TV branding that continues to deliver rising ROI amidst multiple brand reconfigurations and business unit changes. There are 8,000 members of the press who have looked at these sites and fresh program related protected content, asset security, and embargoed pre release information that needs to get into the correct journalistic hands with the correct timing. Content management was a real challenge for the network staff who were juggling multiple processes to update content across all of the sites. And if we know anything about WordPress, it is that getting things off of multiple sites and into one site to ease management of that content is one of the things that it is especially good at. The two main goals of this project were to unify the myriad of those network sites into a cohesive editorial workflow and create a master system architecture for guest navigation. They did all of that while retaining the unique branding of each network and ensuring clear regional distinction and granting the press seamless access to public and exclusive program related content. This enabled the editing team to manage content efficiently across all those sites, and especially when they were dealing across seasons, across episodes, rather than pages and articles. It was definitely a custom implementation. And it included fully integrated digital assets, relationship management tool that at one point grew to over 14 million assets, allowing editorial staff to bulk edit thousands of images simultaneously. If you have ever been the person that had to edit 14 million assets, I'm sure that would have been a relief for you to have in your solution that was being built for you. But this system continues to evolve. Like I said, it's been over 10 years since they have been using WordPress, and it has expanded and contracted sites and content as it acquired multiple additional brands and completely reshuffling asset permissions for internal distribution at one point. Our next big one is a Standard Chartered. So Standard Chartered is one of the world's most important financial institutions. It has 85,000 employees, 10 million customers, and bank branches in over 50 countries across the globe. To power their industry leading digital presence, they chose to consolidate on a unified enterprise grade WordPress platform that worked across all business units globally, including all of those 50 country based regional retail banking locations, business banking, all their corporate websites, all of it. So today, over 90% of Standard Chartered's web traffic is delivered by WordPress, and every day, over 1,500 employees use our software to reach the bank's global base of customers, partners, and investors. The project began with a huge migration, a really large migration from a primary legacy platform called OpenText, if anyone's familiar with it, as well as a bunch of secondary CMSs. So WordPress brought several key advantages to this project. One, a single unified platform massively increased the efficiency and effectiveness of the bank's numerous teams of web content managers and marketers. With a single system, each of the departmental, divisional, and regional content teams can be trained once and still have a consistent approach. Again, we're seeing a really shortened, a much less steep onboarding process and learning curve, which I think is always a win. Another thing that WordPress specifically brought to this project is that it has world-class block-based content experience, and it enabled the teams to be much more self-sufficient, building new experiences from a large library of reusable content and blocks, and then being able to repurpose the existing content that they had. This has been one of the promises of the Gutenberg project since we started it, the ability to take existing components, existing pieces of content or your website, kind of put it all together to be something new and timely. And this is an excellent use case for that. This is not a core feature, but the bank is already using real-time collaborative editing in production. They're enabling multiple people to work on complex pages simultaneously, therefore massively reducing the time it takes to create, review, and publish new content. Enterprise WordPress's robust reliability and security is underpinned by its open source nature, and it's at the heart of this platform as well, giving Standard Chartered the confidence that they need to deliver on the expectations of their business, customers, and global compliance standards. WordPress also, for what it's worth, as you know, I'm wearing my WordPress 20th anniversary shirt. It has a long history and famous commitment to backwards compatibility. Robust open source foundation and the size and vibrancy of our ecosystem are all critical factors when Standard Chartered was choosing WordPress as its primary platform to power their digital presence for hopefully the next decade. Next up, we have Cox Automotive, not to be confused with Cox Communications. It is a 100 plus years old conglomerate in the automotive solutions industry. So first up, we have DealerTrack. It's an AEM to WP. It saved a huge amount of time, which used to be required to publish every single landing page. They needed help from multiple stakeholders from AEM, and now they can do it themselves, which is one of the most important parts of what we are offering with WordPress is the autonomy to be able to have your own website, make changes when you need it, and still have a site that's functional and powerful. They use multi-site, and so they can manage it all through a single dashboard, which is an excellent solution that we have for our enterprise clients across the board. There's also a Vin Solutions migration that happened that came from Kintico, went to WP. They removed their dependency on the Kintico team for content management and gave that, again, autonomy back to the folks who are actually writing and managing the content. They had integrations like public preview, rewrite, republish that made the content review process so smooth that they couldn't really resist using WordPress for their other brands as well, which I am always happy to hear. Next up is FleetNet America. This was a Drupal to WordPress migration. They were working to expand their wings in the automotive mobility sector, and so they acquired this company and decided to migrate it for all of the reasons that they were migrating all of the other brands as well. And then Trudell Trailers. This is another one of their mobility brands and sites, and it was being run on a custom proprietary CMS, had a marketplace for listing trailers. This one was migrated as a microsite within the existing series of sites that they had, all this suite of multi-sites. And all of these migrations not only reduced the TCO, but also provided uniform and consistent editorial workflows for the Cox team. This reduced their overall learning curve, which is apparently the favorite thing that I have for anyone building an enterprise solution using WordPress. It will reduce your learning curve, and I love it so much for that. But it also reduced maintenance costs and removed some dependencies, which used to happen due to all of these other niche CMSs that they were using. There were a number of KPIs, key performance indicators, that were vastly improved for them as well. I'm going to read you a couple that I am super excited about personally, but if you want to pause and take the scenic route of reading about another company's data, there's plenty of time to do that as well. But there's a 50% faster time to market, which immediately I find to be an enticing KPI. And then the year-over-year cost savings. I'm not always in the camp of cheaper is always better. I really do believe that you get what you pay for. But if you've spent much time at all in the WordPress project, you also know that I think that we pay for WordPress things with stuff other than money sometimes. Like we have a lot of really expert people and a lot of expert brains in our projects and in our companies, and a $500,000 cost savings that comes with a more bespoke and more functional product that also has an entire community backing it, I think is a no-brainer. Next up, Fortune 500 pharmaceutical company. So they chose a WordPress-based infrastructure to replace, again, a mix of CMS solutions that had been in use across domains in 50 plus countries. So the main driver for this client was the desire to significantly reduce development overhead and make room for just kind of a consolidated effect across that platform. Over the past 3 years, they have moved over 200 websites to WordPress. And during that entire process, they built an infrastructure for scale, security, and compliance using naturally the flexibility offered by WordPress multi-site and WordPress's plugin based architecture. So their infrastructure encompasses 4 large domain focused multi site networks, each with a specialized theme, but sharing a common architecture. This is very familiar kind of structure if you spend any time contributing to WordPress. But this enables parallel development from other software vendors alongside their own teams to maximize velocity and mitigate risks connected to single agency relationship while still never giving up anything about the quality. What is super exciting to me about this one is that this was delivered using block-based theme architecture. It was flexible enough to meet the requirements of dozens of local editorial teams working on websites with different objectives, while also leveraging a composer-based solution for theme versioning to allow markets to adopt new features at their own pace. If you've spent any time listening to my podcasts or listening to me at WordCamps, you know that I'm a big fan of meeting people where they are. And so having editorial teams that feel comfortable with the solutions that we are providing and that work at their speed, work at their volume, I think is a really key promise that we're making to our employees when we're doing things like this. They also had tailored third-party integrations and a solution for localized legal approval workflows, which means that the move to WordPress has empowered their editorial teams with a more user-friendly editing interface, and it made marketing efforts more easy to manage and a lot more scalable. This also has delivered significant savings to that company through improved performance and reduced frontline support requirements. This is a favorite of mine, relaunching Fujifilm X. So this is a legacy and global product. I think all of us are aware of this particular brand at this point. But Fujifilm X is powered by WordPress and has an extensive multilingual capacity. Fuji is headquartered in Japan, but the brand, as noted, is sold globally. It's available all across the world. And so their site is translated into over 48 languages. And that is while they have a very complex content sitemap. They offer thousands of products and they have all of the product resources and specs, all of which have to be translated. And the block editor has made that very easy. Multilingual has made that very easy for them to do. They do use the block editor, the WordPress editor, extensively as a platform to build rich page layouts, whether that's simple content to rich product page templates, again, that have all of the resources, the specs, everything that a photographer would want. And they have multiple businesses around the world that have control over each section of their site. They have that global kind of headquarters in Tokyo, and yet every local entity can have control over the content they're putting in and localizing it and making it valuable and reasonable for the customers that are coming to their site. And the NBA G League. So I was not super familiar with the NBA G League until about 2 months ago when they shut down their what was it? It was their showcase team. It was like their fancy team for showcasing new talent. But anyway, that is unrelated. I'm just letting you know that I'm behind on all social and interesting things to do with sports. But the NBA was looking to redesign its G League website to increase engagement and update an outdated design with a new look that was better suited for their modern league. The website is the source of truth for G League fans everywhere, so it needed an update design as well as just a general overhaul on functionality and speed. So they had a priority goal with the design and make it more usable and more accessible to their desired audience. And since they were already familiar with WordPress, they chose an engineering approach that takes advantage of the WordPress REST API and built out, again, a headless architecture with the WordPress multi-site feature so that they could achieve all of those goals. Using WordPress multisite, the NBA G League can easily manage all of its team sites from a single WordPress multisite installation. This eases the administration and management of having multiple websites. Meanwhile, the experience and branding remain the same for visitors, and the brand look is unified over all the team websites, but allows individual flexibility with content presentation. Here again, If you're spending any time in the WordPress community, this all is known to you. This is something I feel like WordPress is its own biggest customer in that way. We have a million multi-sites all managed in a centralized location. And I agree with the NBA on this and their decision to use WordPress for it. But they, like us, have this well executed API integration. Well executed, if I say so myself, that allows G League to present live score updates, game schedules, and player stats seamlessly. And this is key to providing the user with a flawless experience. For anyone who does follow sports, you know that real time information often is a game changer for what you are accomplishing on any site at a given time. So, for those player stats, game tickers, game schedules, game countdowns, etc. There are several API integration points with the NBA's own API so that we can quickly display all of that changing data. For example, when games are live, the API returns a particular status to signify live, which then gets passed to the data import, which fetches the updated data of a game based on the live game unique ID and returns the new game information to the front end of the website for the viewer. So if you wanted some pop engineering explanation of how that all works, there you have it. If you want some real developer explanations of it, I'm sure that there is another case study around somewhere that digs into this a little bit more deeply. But during live games, the score updates happen pretty quickly in basketball. And so on page load, the application fetches data from the NBA's API and the game status is read from there. So there's a lot of real time information that is available and consistently refreshed across it. And again, using headless WordPress, using multi site WordPress, it's a really complex implementation of this software. And that's why this gets into my list of favorite things that we do in the WordPress enterprise space. I think maybe this is my last one. I'm not sure. If it's not, then you all get a bonus one after it. But OFX is an Australian fintech leader with global reach, operating through 8 regional offices around the world. Previously, all 8 of their sites were on Sitecore, and content was largely identical, but had to be uploaded 8 separate times with just minor differences in the content to account for the region. And so that is already time consuming, as you can tell, but also Sitecore was a bit fragile for OFX's purposes. Any experimentation that they did would come with a risk of downtime, which can be catastrophic. It also meant a lot of wasted time for editorial teams who were spending hundreds of hours maintaining variations of the same content and just uploading the same things with minor differences all across their network. But also, OFX was looking to refresh its brand with a new, more interactive design language that would extend across its new site and mobile apps. So they wanted something scalable and flexible that would enable them to experiment and also grow their offering. I just love a WordPress implementation that makes the aim to grow with the business as it is changing its goals and changing its spaces. And I think that this is definitely one of those. This move, I think, was a huge success for them based on all of the things that they needed for this new solution. It makes sense that it would be a success for them. But they moved their 8 regional sites into a centralized WordPress installation, again with custom programmatic capabilities, and they were able to improve their staff efficiency by 70 to 80% and drastically reduce the amount of time needed to upload and maintain that content. So what previously took hundreds of hours on a fragile setup, having to go from spot to spot to spot, could just be done in minutes. One of those original stories of WordPress where you saved yourself 10 clicks and 10 hours just by using this kind of implementation. And also, you can get a lot more done when your CMS isn't standing in your way. So all of that, the migration and the transition to this was done with no downtime whatsoever. It was smooth and no one was worrying about downtime on their sites. On top of that, they ended up with a brand new, highly interactive and highly scalable design system. So congrats to them. Hundreds of bespoke components with thousands of variations for specific use cases have enabled OFX to experiment with new content types and set them up for that future growth that they think that they're going to have. Again, that's one of my favorite things about the way WordPress works is that it grows with you, whether you're growing bigger or trying to grow smaller strategically. it's going to be what you need when you need it. So that is my whirlwind list. This was a pretty casual review of it, but it's the first in an entire series that will be coming from the Scale Consortium. You can download the slides, but you can also keep track of all of the rest of content that's coming out on LinkedIn or over on X. There are links, boop, right there. I think I pointed to it. But again, my name is Josepha Haden Chomphosy. This has been an absolute delight to bring you my WordPress Enterprise Showcase, and hopefully we'll see you at a WordCamp here in the near future.